mi eterno andar, tristeza amarga de la soledad, ansias enormes de llegar. Sabrás que por la vida fui buscándote, que mis ensueños sin querer rompí y en algún cruce los dejé. Mi andar apresuré con la esperanza de encontrarte aquí, largos caminos silvané, leguas y leguas recorrí. Que entre tus brazos pueda descansar, si no prefieres volveré a marchar por mi camino de ayer.
Good evening, everyone. We are talking about Buscándote, Looking for You, tonight, recorded by Osvaldo Fresedo and Ricardo Ruiz. Fresedo, this is the second time we're talking about this orchestra leader. It's a little bit different than other orchestra leader that we have talked about. One of the things is his origin. He was born in 1897 in the neighborhood of San Nicolas, which is in the center, in a very nice neighborhood because his father was merchant and he was born in a middle-class family. However, when he was very young already, the business didn't go so well, so he had to move towards the outside, no? And they settled in this neighborhood of Paternal later. Fresedo learned bandoneon since he was very young, despite his parents' wishes, because at that time, tango was not looked at very well. It was played in a shady places like Rodo and other places that the good boys are not supposed to show up in. However, it took his passion anyway, so he was actually skipping classes and going to learn bandoneon. We're talking about when he was early teens, like 12 years old, for example. But he got so well that he started getting gigs as kids. And there were several other bandoneon players that were really good, although despite being young. And to differentiate him from the others, he's got the nickname El Pibe de la Paternal, the young boy from the Paternal neighborhood, because there are other guys from different regions, from different neighborhoods. Despite tango coming from a very humble origin, Fresedo coming from the middle class, anyhow, he loved tango. He actually loved all the tangos by many different orchestras that we listen to that are from a different class. But I don't know why, whether he was because he was from a good family or just because of his artistic inclination. His clientele was very different from other orchestras. He didn't play so much in the neighborhood clubs like the other people did, although they were really big, important revenue source. He played mainly in the center in the cabaret that I'm going to talk about later. And his clientele was from higher class neighborhood, higher class social class. And that also you can hear in the sound that he created for his music. He had a really long career. He started playing as a solo, as a trio, as a quartet in different formation since he was really young, 12, 14 years old. He was already playing and earning money. But he formed his own orchestra in the early time, in the 20s, in the first big boom of tango orchestras in Buenos Aires. He traveled to Paris, he traveled to New York. He had a very, very successful career early on. We're talking about this age, for example, Troilo was still a kid. And he kept recording until the 80s. The music is not very danceable. It's actually horrifying for me to hear sometimes. But he had this tremendous recording repertoire, almost 1,300 songs. It's really amazing. As a composer, he had a great ally who was his older brother, Emilio Fresedo. He played violin when he was young, also with Fresedo, and he wrote lyrics for the composition that Osvaldo Fresedo made. Being brothers, obviously, I'm sure they share the same idea, and there are many of these songs are very lovely songs. They're not desperate, in agony, or poverty, not that kind of, or even neighborhood, not that kind of tango that we hear from other orchestras, but about love, of confession of love, tender feelings, happy nightlife, etc., etc. Emilio Fresedo, this older brother of Osvaldo, he later, even though he started a musical career together with Osvaldo, later turned on to the businessman as his parents wanted him to, and became a business person. This elegant Fresedo sounds, he developed finally, actually in the 1930s, the sound that we recognize as this distinct Fresedo sound. After all the trip that he has made to Europe and also in America, where he was exposed to many different kind of sounds. And also remember that in 1930, what happened was that after tango was enjoying this great success in the 20s, there were a lot of cafes, there were a lot of cabarets, and people were listening, regular people are listening to tango and dancing tango. People's attention got hindered because the sound film has come in from the Hollywoods. And that was such a cool thing that people wanted nothing but that. And like, tango, what? No, they forgot about that entertainment that they used to enjoy. So in the beginning of 1930, actually, tango industry went down a lot. And what happened in the tango at that time to the major orchestra that they had, like Canaro, De Caro, also Fresedo, was to search for different sounds. And one of that trend was called symphonic tango, and to incorporate different instruments and more instruments, because the more, the better, more interesting, because they were trying to compete with Hollywood movies. So now you see that in this picture. There's a xylophone in the back over here, this cello, and of course a violin, bandoneon. Bandoneon is kind of in the back, like not so important, no, for Fresedo. Despite Fresedo being a bandoneon player, his sound was mainly built from the cuerdas, from the strings instrument. No? And in addition, the harp. Let's look at that. Yesterday, Alexei made a comment, and I didn't think about it that way. But Fresedo incorporated harp because he thought that the sound of harp also matches the upscale clientele that he had and he was targeting. And the harpist of Fresedo's orchestra was a woman. Her name is Nerida Gianneo. You can see her here in the face, and then her playing over here. She played for Fresedo from 1936 to 46, more or less. I don't know what happened to her afterwards. Probably got married, we don't know. I don't know where she's from, but we know that she's probably one of the only female musician who played an instrument for important orchestra in the Golden Age. We were saying that the tango was not very well looked at in the beginning of the century, of 20th century. And also some of the places that they were playing were not very good for young ladies. But that doesn't mean that there were no female musicians at that time. There were many bands like this. They would call it like Orchestra de Señoritas, orchestra of young ladies. You can see here, there's a bandoneon player, violin, and double bass, and obviously pianist in the back. This picture is from Montevideo, but there are many orchestra like this in Buenos Aires as well, and they mainly played in cafes. Cafes were the places where people would go and meet with friends, where business was happening, and they would have music from like afternoon to night, all day long. Different bands would play, and they will come in like in the afternoon session, because that's a safer time. In other places that Fresedo mainly played, was cabarets. Many, many, many different cabarets there were. And this is a picture. Unfortunately, there are no picture of actual cabaret from those times, because I'm sure it was a little bit dark. No, this is a picture from a movie recreating the scenery of cabarets. And you can see in the back, there's a little stage and the orchestra is playing the live music, and there are tables and chairs around the floor. And the place is actually pretty big, so in the back there are more places, to sit. And you can see people dancing. And there are ladies that are hired, and the gentleman can come alone and dance with these ladies, professional ladies. This is another famous picture right here, and depicting the ambience that there were of the cabarets on Corrientes. Corrientes was a big avenue that they reopened in 1930s. And there were many, many cabarets, theaters, and also cafes that I talked about. They were also on Corrientes. It was filled like a Broadway of Buenos Aires. And Fresedo was so successful that he had like multiple bands. And as a side business, he decided, why not? He bought a place. He had a place called Bar Fresedo in the 30s and 40s. And later he bought another cabaret called Rendezvous. It was apparently very upscale, very nice place, with a partner called Eduardo Armani, who was a jazz band leader. Because remember also that in Buenos Aires, tango was not the only music that people listened to or danced to. Jazz was also always there during the Golden Age. It was always any event, there will be tango, and then also jazz. They will alternate, even in cabarets as well. What happened in this Rendezvous club is very interesting, because the jazz musician, who is the creator of bebop, Digi Gillespie, came to Buenos Aires as a part of South American tour that was sponsored by American government. I don't know what purpose they had, but what was great was that he made it to Buenos Aires and was staying on this Maipu street where his hotel was, and this theater, Teatro Casino, was. And he was playing in this big theater. But Rendezvous, the club that Fresedo owns, was also on Maipu. And so Fresedo convinced him, like, why don't you come over and jam at night and play some music at my club? We play jazz and tango. And as a result of the collaboration, he played at the Rendezvous Club, and there's a recording of that. You can see Fresedo talking to Di Gillespie right here and over here. And when he performed, I'm not sure if you can see very well, he wore this handkerchief in the neck, which is like he was disguising himself as like the gaucho, no? Because he's in Argentina. So like I'm trying to localize myself, and you can see this little belt also on the waist as well. So let's listen to that right here. Can you hear the trumpet played by DC? It's really nice, no? Although this is an instrumental version of Vida Mia, which was a big hit recorded by, sung by Roberto Rai, the first singer of Fresedo, first important singer of Fresedo. He's playing the trumpet like he's expressing as if he's singing, no? It's very interesting also that Fresedo had an open mind, no, to incorporate different instruments into the music he played. He went beyond the boundary of tango, no, not so much the purists, but this kind of collaboration came out from that open-mindedness that Fresedo had. Now let's look at first the creator of this song, Buscándote, that so many people love. Oh, this song is loved by the Argentinians, by the Americans, by the Asians. This is so romantic and so lovely, and it's an all-time favorite, I would say. He, the composer and poet, he actually made both. His name is Lalo Scalise. His real name was Eduardo, but he went by his nickname Lalo, was born in 1912. And somebody called him Poeta de Piano because he was very expressive, almost lyrical in the way he played piano. And there was a time that he played a piano for Fresedo himself, exactly the time that they recorded Buscándote and the other song of him, Vida Querida. Let me just play that Vida Querida also a little bit. You can, you know that song, yes? Yesterday we also played that too, another very lovely song. He has very interesting story because he was an important musician at that time, you know, on the Corrientes Street, the Broadway of Buenos Aires. There were many different venues when he was playing for Fresedo, and also before he was playing for Mafia, and he will be playing in all these cabarets. No? And he was really good friends with Enrique Santos Discépolo. Do you remember him? He wrote Uno. He wrote the lyrics for Uno. Right here, he's a little bit bended, with his love of his life, Tania, the Spanish singer, that broke his heart and made him happy and put him in all kinds of roller coaster. Yes, and Lalo is seen right here. Lalo and Discepolo had great relationship. They were really good friends, but also Lalo helped Discepolo with his creation. Out of that trust, Lalo also backed up Tanya, the singer, as a pianist, and also when they went to Europe for a tour from 1933 to 1936, Lalo accompanied them as an orchestra leader. And they hired musicians from Europe to make the sound of tango. And they came back after 3 years of successful tour and went back into the tango world. Now, what did Lalo do for Discepolo is something very interesting. I would like to show you with the movie, with excerpts from a movie.
Esto me lo escribe bien, mire que tiene mucha melodía, ¿eh? Pues parece que me se vació el tanque. Más. Ya está. ¿Qué papa debe ser maestro, eh?
Por 20 pesos, yo te doy un bel diploma.
20 pesos.
Sí.
Deme la música.
La música. Sí.
Toma. Ciao.
Arrivederci, eh?
Did you understand what had happened? This main character, no, he came up with this song, but he didn't know how to write a musical score. So he came to this conservatory piano teacher and whistled the melody that he came up with and asked him to write it down in score. That's what Discepolo was asking Lalo to do. So he would come up with this idea and he would like, oh my God, this is great. And he would go running down Corrientes Street looking for Lalo, because he didn't know which cabaret he was playing at the moment, because many orchestra played in multiple places throughout the day. So he would go running down to find Lalo. It's like, oh, can I write this? And he was so desperate because he really, Discepolo really liked the melody that he came up with, but he didn't want to lose it. No? So that's the story. But this movie is a little bit more interesting, so I would like to show what happened then. So this main character came up with this melody and had the song written down. Oh, sorry. Song written down. And he goes to the cafe to ask his friends to play it for him. Can you hear? No. You can't hear. Felipe says we cannot hear, so let me just do this. How about that? You cannot hear. Oh, this is a shame. Let's see. How about that? You cannot hear. Oh, so sorry for the disruption. Apparently the music is not playing, so I will post the video later. It's very interesting. Anyhow, the story goes, this movie called Los Tres Bertines, is that he asked this musician to write it down, and he bring it to his friends to play it for him, play from the score, and it's a completely different song. No, it was a fraud. But then he's like, oh, I don't have money, blah, 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 blah. And then he said, oh, you have to go to the cafe. Remember, cafe was where the musicians and all these people were hanging out. There's a pianist who can do this for you. So he goes to the cafe later and had the song written down. And the pianist is Firpo, actually. And later, they debut the song. And in the band who is debuting the song is actually Arakarakana. Bandoneon player is very, very young, Aníbal Toroilo. This is a black and white movie from 1933, very old tango movie, but I really recommend. It's very fun to watch, cute script. Now let's go look into Ricardo Ruiz, who is the singer of this song. He came in towards the end of a Roberto Ray Fresedo partnership. They actually worked together in some gig. He was born in 1914 in Palermo Viejo, in a nice neighborhood, where many of the milongas are nowadays. And he had his real name was Ricardo Ruiz, so he debuted with the same name. First, he started his career in radio shows. There was a program called Chispazos de Tradición, which debuted many young talents. And he got noticed by Canaro. Canaro was a really big musician that was already had great career from the 1910s. Even Fresedo, also in the beginning of the career, he played bandoneon for Canaro's formation. And after that, Fresedo found Ruiz, and they played together for not so long time, but left many great songs, 30 songs, and many of them, again, very lovely, sweet sound that they had. Ruiz didn't have a really successful career afterwards. He thought that, oh, you know what, this is going so great, because look at this, 1932 to 42 is like the really peak of the golden age. Fresedo was commercially very successful. He thought he owned the world. So then with the then pianist, Lalo, the composer of Buscándote, they separated. And also they took many musicians out from Fresedo's formation. They were not maybe happy financially. I don't know the reason why they separated, but they formed a new orchestra to go on a movie and gonna have a great successful career, which didn't happen. It's too bad that he didn't stay for a longer time, because after Ruiz, after Ray and Ruiz, Fresedo had many different singers until his career ended in 1980, but the sound of the singer was not so good for dancing anymore. He was this, I would say, good-looking young chap over here. Now here rehearsing with Fresedo on the piano, and Ruiz over here. And you can see in this picture, Fresedo right here, Ruiz, and then the other singer, Carlos Mayer, and Lalo in the back on the piano. Yes. There is a video. I don't know what it is from. The TV didn't start until the 60s, so I assume this is a scene from a movie. That the music is added over it, so the instrument part is not really matching with the video, but you can see, and then the definition is not very good, but you can see the expression of Ruiz. Let's see. Can you hear? You cannot hear. Okay, let me just stop share, because I would like you to see this. I'm gonna stop share and then share it again. Yeah. Let's see. cannot see it. You cannot hear it.
We can see them.
Oh, this is really sad. Okay, the sound is not going well. So I'm going to share the video later as a link, and then you can watch it later. Yeah. So sorry about that. Okay. Now let's go look into the lyrics of the poem of the song Buscándote, looking for you. Vagar, wandering, con el cansancio de mi eterno andar, with the fatigue of my eternal walking. Cansado, you know, I'm tired. We say cansado, no? In the noun form, it would be cansancio, with the tiredness. My eternal walking, because he keeps looking for her, no? Tristeza amarga de la soledad, bitter sadness of solitude. This is like the quintessential tango vocabulary, yes? An enormous desire to arrive, ansias enorme de llegar. Arrive where? To her. Sabrás, you will know, que por la vida fui buscándote, that all my life I was looking for you. Que mis ensueños sin querer rompí, that I broke my fantasies unintentionally. This expression sin querer, you hear all the time with Spanish speaker, like without wanting, but meaning like unintentionally, no? Not that he meant to do that. Que en algún cruce los dejé, that I left them in some crossroads. He broke his fantasies and left them in some crossroads because I guess he was not finding her. But did he actually met her yet? No, because he says here, sablas, meaning that he's talking to his imaginary love of his life that he will meet one day, and he's telling her in his mind. Huh? Mi andar apresuré. I heard my steps hurried. I hurried my steps with the hope of finding you, con la esperanza de encontrarte a ti. This is a reflexive verb in Spanish. Encontrar is to find, but then to meet someone, to find someone, you have to say encontrarte a ti. It's emphasizing to find you, no? Largos caminos irvané. I walk long roads. Irvanar is to leave, no? Because he's going here, he's taking another step there. So much that evolve, all the past has woven, no? Got wove. Leguas y leguas a recorrer. Legua is league, no? Like miles, going through miles and miles. Many, a long journey. Después que entre tus brazos pueda descansar. After I am able to rest in your arms. Si lo prefieres, volveré a marchar. If you prefer, I'll leave again. Back to my road from yesterday. No? This part, I wonder what he really means, because is he being really humble? No, because he's timid and shy, and he finally found her, and he can rest in her arms in this beautiful embrace that she will give him. And he should just stay there, you know, for the rest of his life. But he says, if you prefer, I'll leave again, back to my road from yesterday. What does it mean? Like, it's just a brief encounter, and he would just go again to another one, or he's afraid that she might not accept him. No? But when we see this kind of character, you can see that this is not this macho man that we think of when it comes to tango. Typical man, you know, they will flirt with you and then go over. No, it's not like that. He's very fragile and sincere and romantic, and has this, is hopeful, no? to find the one, the love, you. He doesn't even know who that is. He keeps looking. Fresedo has this kind of theme that is very romantic and hopeful, and I really like that, different from other tangos, which I also relate to, but it's nice to have the combination of sound and message and the music in the tango scene. Now let's listen to the song again. Let's see if you can actually hear it. Let's go into the quiz time. We start today from the Duolingo time. Descansar. Actually, I can't hear anyone. Can you guys unmute yourself? Do you hear anyone? No?
I don't hear them.
To rest.
To rest, yes. It comes from the opposite of cansar, no, cansado, like tired. The other way, descansar means to rest. Yeah? Like in soccer games, between two games, there's a break in between, is descanso, no? The noun form. Now, buscar.
To look for.
Look for, search, yes. Encontrarse.
To meet, to find somebody.
Yes, to meet someone, yes. And then encontrar would be to find something, no? Instead of meet with someone, yes. Llegar.
To arrive.
To arrive, yes. When you arrive at the airport, it would say llegada, arrival. Llegar. In this case, it was to arrive at her. Now, let's see. Which club or cabaret did Fresedo play at?
Rendezvous.
Rendezvous, yes. Do you recognize any other club? All the other options are actually important cabarets that were also on Corrientes Avenue. Actually, Rendezvous was on Maipu, but the other clubs were on Corrientes Avenue, and many different orchestra played. Chantecler is very famously where D'Arienzo played. And Tibidabo was where Troilo played. And Marabu was a club where Di Sarli played a lot. And Chantecler, Tibidabo doesn't exist anymore, but Marabu still exists. The place still exists, and there is a milonga there every Thursday. Yeah? I recommend that you go visit there. Now, can you recognize Ruiz's face?
Ruiz.
Yes, Ricardo Ruiz, the singer of Buscándote.
Ah.
I mean, he's not a very...
6, maybe?
Number,
Say again?
it's not number,
Six.
number 3.
Number 3?
No, 6.
6, yes. He's not a very, very, very known singer, but this young gentleman is Ricardo Ruiz. I'm just gonna go over. Yeah, number 1. Echagüe, who sang with D'Arienzo, famously sang with D'Arienzo. Number 2, Chanel, who famously sang with Pugliese. And 3, Raúl Verón, who sang with many, many, many different people, yes. Number 4 is the Rufino. And number 5 is the other famous singer of Fresedo, Roberto
Rai. Roberto Rai. Okay.
Roberto Rai, yes. Now, let's see if you can identify Fresedo in this picture.
On the left. On the left.
On the left. There we go. Fresedo right here in a tie and light suit. Do you recognize other people?
Troilo.
Troilo, yes, with the bandoneon. Still not all, no? Yeah, you can see Canaro, yeah.
Discepolo.
Discepolo, yay! Discepolo always has this distinct silhouette of his nose, you know, many caricature describe him with that. So you can also see that from this side. And Canaro, yes. And then the last man, I'm not sure if you guys know this person. It's Jose Razano. He was a partner of Gardel.
Oh, yeah.
Very interesting to find out this picture where you can see many different musician.
Yes, yes. It's nice.
Yeah. Great. Thank you so much for coming today. And I would like to make an announcement that next Saturday, there will be a new monthly milonga starting, virtual milonga, obviously, called Cafe Pacifico, organized by Emily Pierce and Derek Del Pilar from Portland. And Felipe and I will be co-DJing, and there will be a small live music performance as well. And I will post the link on the Facebook group. But I would love to see all of you there.
Great.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much. Okay, that's great.
Thank you, Ayano. Ciao.
Thank you.